Și acum o să rog colegii să mă ajute cu intervenția online. Dacă l-avem alături de noi pe Pat Mccarthy, Senior Security Advisor, Huawei Cybersecurity Transparency Center din Bruxelles. Hello? Can you hear us?
I can hear you very well. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Welcome again to the Cybersecurity Forum organized by Financial Intelligence. Last year you were here with us in the room. Now thank you for your intervention online. Last year you were telling us not to trust anyone. I would ask you now, how did you see the evolution of the cyber attacks in the last period, please?
Well, I think you have a major one very close to home. So I think you can see that cyber attacks are really everywhere. So that's definitely, coming home to roost. Last year, I talked about the importance of the future with the Cyber Resilience Act and NIS2, and they're going to be the need for preparing to protect in the verticals, and a lot more work needs to be done to defend from the attacks. And, we've seen attacks everywhere, not just in Romania, but all over the world. So there's a huge responsibility on the industry to really prepare for that. And also, what's also challenging is the landscape is expanding. It's not just about, devices and compute and storage and systems and access security, physical security, but now we have a new dimension with AI and intelligence. And indeed, your forum by financial intelligence kind of is very appropriate, because now we have the AI Act, we'll have data acts, we've got digital services. So the landscape of threats is hugely expanded and needing a lot more controls. And the biggest challenge of all is bringing the skills together across cybersecurity and AI and compute to really address this challenge. And that's the challenge we all face globally. It's going to be supported by, obviously, the regulations, different regions, different approaches around the world, but also standards. There's a lot of work taking place in the standards world now. I'm a full standards member in Sensenelec work, JC21, the new AI cybersecurity workgroup 5. And we're focusing on the cybersecurity elements in the new legislative framework to support the AI Act implementation. And that's working with ETSI, it's working with leveraging ISO standards, and we'll be leveraging the contributions from ENISA. So a lot of work taking place there to achieve and support that.
Can you tell us, develop a bit more, how do you prepare for this increased work that you mentioned?
I can, if you want to, I can show you one or two slides. I know you want to keep this a discussion, but I have a few slides that I show that might help, or if you wish, I can just keep talking, whatever you like. Would you be happy for me to share one or two slides?
Yes, yes, please.
Okay, I could do that. Share the screen and now, could you see the slide? Can you see the slide?
Yes, we can see it.
Excellent. So, since I talked to you last time, last year I talked more about the compute and the baseline security. This year I just talked to you a little bit more about understanding risk for the digital world and focusing a bit more on intelligence. One of the things that we in Brussels, I'm actually at an EU cyber conference here today, which is one of the reasons I'm not in Romania, but one of the things we have a focus here, obviously, is the new regulatory framework. And there's a lot of regulations coming out, which will all need cyber protection. But I kind of summarized it when I supported the Foundation Forum in 2022, and you can download this, into 3 elements of risk, because I think it's really important that we have a shared understanding of risk, and then we can look at the shared responsibility. So there's the use case risk, which is the key focus of the AI Act. There's the data risk, which is no longer just data protection and privacy, but there's a lot of work in Europe now in data spaces to share data, and that's the fuel for supporting enabling intelligence. And then there's the application risk with a much more significant stack. So all these things have to be looked at in parallel, and they bring different skills together. So it needs a team. In AI, you're probably familiar with a lot of focus now on large models, ChatGPT, and new focus of using AI in a multimodal capability. But everybody's concerned about the future and what they call frontier AI, which was particularly highlighted this year at the UK Safety Summit. A bit like the Wild West, the new frontier. And the key thing that Elon Musk kind of highlights says, let's learn about how to regulate and standardize AI now while it's in this large model mode, because it's going to become even more complicated in the future. There's different approaches around the world in US, UK, China, and Europe. So we need to take cognizance of that. Europe is much more a risk-based approach, a regulatory approach linked with standards. And that's kind of unique globally. So I mentioned that threats is more complex. There's the training cycle, the inference cycle. But for large models, there's a lot more threats, not just in protecting the AI itself, but also how it's used with the prompt injection and prompt engineering and protecting the data that comes out of it. Because with the benefits of large models, which can do amazing things, it also has risk because it can generate spurious data. So you have to watch out for that in protecting the application, but also understanding how to design it to secure it. So the key thing in Europe is the what is the legislation, the how is very much in standards, and for AI it's been led by Sensenelec, JT21, and for cybersecurity by Workgroup 5. So when they talk about the new framework in Europe, it's this combination of regulatory and standards. And Europe isn't going to invent everything. It needs to leverage the best of international, like ISO and ETSI and others. But it needs to address the European AI Act standardization requirement, and that can't just be achieved from regulations alone. It needs technical standards. So the time frame is, we're probably aware that the EU Act is kind of finalizing, I think today or tomorrow, hopefully, and getting 100% voters in Strasbourg. But that's only half the journey. That's going to have to get implemented in the countries, and in parallel, the standards and conformance testing need to be achieved. The Act is, I think, summarized in loads of places, but I think the key thing is there's a lot of focus now on general purpose AI, large models, in addition to additional clarification about what is AI in the finalized AI Act. And if you want a really simple summary, this is a nice slide from the working group in Sensenelec, which they call the landscape, the architecture of standards.
Pat, hi. We can't see we actually cannot see your slides. Now it works. Great.
Yes. Strange. I don't understand.
It was a fixed image. Now it's okay. Please continue.
So the architecture of standards then has a focus on the overall trustworthiness, the risk management, quality management, and conformance. And this is a nice way to look at it. And this is kind of coming out of the standards. So when you take all this complexity, when you break it down into a simple diagram like this, a simple picture, you could then see how the use case risk, the data risk, and the application risk can be addressed, and some of the standards that are relevant. So the key in all this, there's a good guidance from ENISA on how to approach good practice for cybersecurity, looking at the cybersecurity foundations, the AI layer and verticals. And then if you look at this slide, it kind of shows the complexity of putting a team in place to support it in computing, in data engineering, and model engineering, and the important roles that the Chief Security Officer and the Data Protection Officer will form in order to support good practice for AI. So the closing point is building responsible, trustworthy AI is a shared responsibility for the digital world. And the key thing I would say is, Romania is a great country, very technical, great opportunity for this capability building and cybersecurity, but it needs a strong engineering focus, standardization focus, and certification in order to truly protect not just Romania, but particularly where Romania is helping to support Europe in helping to protect cybersecurity for many organizations across the region. So that just gives you a taste. And what I wanted to do was to talk about kind of what's next after the baseline of Cyber Resilience Act and NIS2. This is the next big challenge that is really facing us all.
Well, thank you for mentioning Romania. I would like you to detail a bit. What do you think Romania should do more to be better prepared for all these risks?
Well, yeah, so you've got an excellent position in securing the new cybersecurity agency, and I congratulate the country on that. That's an amazing achievement. But I think you could look to some other countries as well to see how they're approaching building their cyber capability. I'm from Ireland, and while I'm based in Brussels, I do look back to my home country, and they are a very interesting initiative there called Cyber Ireland. And that brings together about 500 companies focusing on cybersecurity. Current revenues about 1.2 billion, hoping to grow to 2 billion. And then the thousands of people working in cybersecurity supported by the universities. So that ecosystem is strong and is getting stronger. So I think the same thing is true and should be true in Romania, is that bringing together your ecosystem, having a vision about how it should grow, and looking at the investment in cybersecurity. I was looking at the investment in cybersecurity in Romania versus Ireland. And even though Romania has 4 times bigger population, it was half the investment in cybersecurity. So I think you can definitely do more, and you will need to do more in order to protect Romania going forward. So I think looking at other countries, Germany, Ireland, France, UK and others, for how they're doing cybersecurity and leveraging some of those best insights to drive your strategy, I think is where you need to go. You've got a great success in securing the agency, but really you got to really ramp up your investment in cybersecurity and strengthen, I think, the ecosystem.
Mccarthy, good luck to the conference in Brussels, and next year we wait you here in Bucharest. All the best.